My father had taught me the constellations when I was young, Orion, Cassiopeia, the Big Dipper. He'd said the stars were eternal, that they'd outlive us all. I was 17, standing on the roof of my apartment building in Seattle, watching the sky like I'd done 1,000 times before. He was wrong. It started as a shimmer, like heat rising off summer pavement but in the vacuum of space. I blinked, thought maybe my eyes were tired, but then the shimmer grew, spread across the northern horizon like a crack in reality itself. And through that crack, they came. The ships didn't announce themselves with fanfare or dramatic lights. They just appeared, silent and absolute, blocking out entire sections of the night sky. Hundreds of them, thousands, each one impossibly large, surfaces so black they seemed to devour the starlight around them. I stood there, frozen, watching humanity's childhood end. My phone started screaming, emergency alerts, news notifications, messages from everyone I'd ever known. The whole world was looking up at the same moment, seeing the same impossible thing. We'd spent centuries searching for alien life, sending out signals, building telescopes, dreaming of first contact. We should have been more careful about what we wished for. The first 24 hours were chaos, wrapped in disbelief. World leaders called for calm. Scientists scrambled to make sense of the data. Religious leaders interpreted it through 1,000 different lenses. My neighbor, Mrs. Morrick, stood in the parking lot, rosary beads clicking through her fingers, whispering prayers in Mandarin. The college kids from the apartment below mine threw a party. Figured if it was the end, might as well go out drunk. Everyone had an opinion, a theory, a prayer. No one had an answer. The aliens didn't communicate, didn't respond to our transmissions, didn't acknowledge our existence at all. They just positioned themselves in orbit and waited. I spent that first night glued to the news. Every channel showed the same thing, those massive black ships hanging in the sky like tombstones. Military analysts speculated, politicians demanded action. My mother called every hour, asking if I was okay, telling me to come home. I kept saying I would. Tomorrow, after classes, after work. I never made it. The bombardment started on the second day, not with warnings, not with demands. Just pure methodical destruction raining down from orbit. I was on the bus heading downtown when the first beam hit. A column of light so bright it turned the morning into noon, stretching from the sky to the earth like God's own finger. Where it touched, everything ceased to exist. Buildings, streets, people. Just gone, replaced by a crater of melted glass that glowed orange in the sudden darkness. The shockwave hit a second later. The bus flipped like a toy, and I was thrown against metal and glass and screaming passengers. A woman's head cracked against the seat in front of me. A man's arm bent the wrong way. The driver's body came through the windshield. When I crawled out through the shattered door, Seattle was burning. Not movie burning, real burning. The kind that smells like chemicals and cooked meat and everything terrible in the world concentrated into smoke you can taste. The kind that makes you gag and cry and wish you couldn't smell at all. I ran. Don't know where I thought I was going. Just ran. Behind me, another beam struck downtown. Pioneer Square, where I'd had my first date with Jenny Watkins. Gone. The waterfront, where my father taught me to fish when I was 8. Gone. The university district where I'd planned to study engineering. Gone. 20 seconds. That's all it took to erase 1,000,000 lives. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from my mother. "Where are you? Please answer. Please." I tried to call back. The network was dead. I found shelter in a subway tunnel with maybe 200 other survivors. We huddled in the dark, listening to the city die above us. Someone had a radio. We heard fragments. New York hit, London burning, Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, Mumbai. Every major city on earth is targeted simultaneously. A woman near me was praying in Spanish, her voice rising and falling like a song. A man in a business suit was calling for his daughter who wasn't there, voice cracking with each shout. A child, maybe 6 years old, was asking her father why the monsters were angry, why they were hurting people. Nobody had answers. The father just held his daughter and cried silently. I sat against the cold concrete wall and thought about my mother's text, wondered if she was still alive. I wondered if my apartment building was still standing. I wondered if any of it mattered anymore. By the third day, it was clear we'd lost. Our militaries tried to fight back, fighter jets that couldn't even reach orbit, missiles that detonated uselessly against shields we couldn't see, nuclear weapons that the aliens swatted aside like insects. Someone in the tunnel had a laptop with saved news footage. We watched grainy videos of aircraft carriers burning in the Pacific, tank divisions obliterated by orbital strikes. The International Space Station tore apart like paper. We were children throwing rocks at a hurricane. I spent a week in that tunnel, surviving on vending machine food and water from broken pipes. The electricity died on day 4. The emergency lights lasted another 12 hours. Then we were in darkness, listening to each other breathe, waiting to die. Some people gave up. A man named Marcus walked to the tunnel entrance on day 5 and just stood there until a beam found him. A teenage girl swallowed every pill in her backpack. An elderly couple held hands and stopped eating. The rest of us kept going. I don't know why. Instinct maybe, stubbornness, fear of what comes after. When the bombardment finally stopped, I emerged into a world I didn't recognize. Seattle was a graveyard. The skyline was gone, just broken teeth of metal and concrete jutting from the rubble. Bodies lay in the streets, covered in ash, twisted into shapes bodies shouldn't make. The sky was black with smoke, and the sun was a dim red circle you could look at directly. The silence was the worst. No cars, no planes, no voices, just wind through empty buildings and distant fires crackling like applause. I walked through the ruins, stepping over debris and bodies, trying to find something familiar. Everything looked the same, grey and broken and dead. I found my apartment building, or what was left of it. The top 8 floors had been sheared off cleanly, like someone had taken a knife to a cake. My room was just open air now, my belongings scattered across the rubble below. I saw my desk, my chair, my posters peeling off a wall that ended in nothing. I climbed the emergency stairs, not knowing why, just needing to see. Made it to the 15th floor, where my parents' apartment had been. The entire wall was gone. The living room opened to the empty sky. I could see their couch covered in dust. The TV, cracked but still mounted. Family photos scattered across the floor. No bodies. I don't know if that made it better or worse. I sat on the edge of the building, legs dangling over a 15-story drop, and cried for the first time since it started. The official count came later. 3 billion dead in the first week. Half of humanity's military capacity was destroyed. Every satellite in orbit is reduced to debris. The internet shattered. The global economy collapsed. Earth had fallen, and it had taken less time than it takes milk to spoil. But humanity has always been good at one thing: surviving when we shouldn't. The coalition of the Last Dawn started as a rumor. Whispers passed between survivor camps about ships gathering beyond Mars, about military leaders who'd escaped Earth, about colonies in the belt pooling their resources. I didn't believe it at first, seemed like hope wrapped in desperation. But then Rodriguez came. Captain Elena Rodriguez ran a cargo hauler called Maria's Hope. She was evacuating survivors to the Mars colonies, charging nothing, risking everything. I met her in what was left of the SeaTac spaceport, just a cracked tarmac and one functioning landing pad. She looked at the crowd of us, 300 desperate people with nothing but the clothes on our backs, and said, "I can take 80, first come, first served. No bags, no weapons, just you." People rushed forward, fought, clawed. A man punched someone's grandmother trying to get ahead. I almost walked away, but Rodriguez fired a shot in the air. The next person who acts like an animal gets left behind. We're still human. Act like it. The crowd settled, formed a line. I was number 79. We watched Earth shrink behind us, a blue marble covered in brown clouds. The girl next to me, maybe 19, pressed her hand against the viewport and whispered goodbye. An older man mumbled prayers. A child asked when they could go home. None of us spoke. What was there to say? Mars wasn't ready for millions of refugees. The domes were overcrowded, food was rationed, water recycled to the point of tasting like chemicals and regret. People slept in corridors, in storage bays, in maintenance tunnels. Disease spread fast, pneumonia, dysentery, infections from cuts that wouldn't heal in the overcrowded medical bays. But we were alive, and alive meant we could fight. The coalition wasn't an army. It was a collection of broken people who refused to die quietly. I volunteered because I had nowhere else to be, no family to protect, no future to plan for. Just rage I needed to put somewhere useful. They stuck me in engineering. Turns out my 2 years of pre-engineering college actually mattered for something. We were retrofitting civilian ships with weapons, welding railgun mounts onto cargo haulers, installing missile pods on luxury yachts, turning mining lasers into cutting beams. The work was brutal. 16-hour days in zero-G, hands constantly burned or cut, breathing recycled air that tasted like oil and desperation. My supervisor was a woman named Keiko who'd lost 3 fingers to a welding accident and kept working. My bunkmate was a former teacher named David who cried himself to sleep every night. But it was for a purpose. And purpose was all we had left. Commander Aurora Morich ran the coalition with the kind of tired determination you only see in people who've lost everything. She'd been on Mars when Earth fell, had watched her home die from 3 light minutes away, helpless, too far to save anyone. I met her during a briefing in the main assembly hall, converted from a greenhouse, still smelling of soil and dead plants. She looked at us, 200 engineers who didn't know what we were doing, soldiers without units, civilians playing at war, and didn't sugarcoat anything. "We're going to take back our sky," she said. Her voice was quiet but carried, not because we think we can win, but because we need them to know they made a mistake. Someone in the back shouted, "What kind of mistake?" Morich's expression didn't change, leaving any of us alive. The room went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone. We got to work. We found the first piece of alien technology in the wreckage near Phobos, a patrol ship that had been damaged, drifting, dead. Dr. Marcus Kane led the salvage operation. He was a xenobiologist who'd survived Earth by hiding in a water treatment tank for 8 days, drinking purified sewage, listening to London burn above him. He spent 3 months studying a fragment of hull plating we'd recovered. It was barely scratched, despite being hit by our most powerful weapons. Lighter than aluminum, stronger than diamond, and it did something that shouldn't be possible. It healed itself. I watched through the lab window as Kane ran tests. He'd cut a section. The material would slowly grow back, re-knitting itself at the molecular level. He'd burn it. The char would slough off, revealing fresh surface underneath. "It's not technology," he said during the presentation to coalition leadership. His hands were shaking. "It's biology. The alien ships were grown, not built. Self-repairing, self-optimizing, more organisms than machines. They adapted to threats, learned from damage, evolved, and if we could understand them, we could learn from them." That's when things got dark. Dr. Yuki Tanaka led the integration project. She'd lost her wife and daughter on Earth. They'd been visiting relatives in Osaka when the beam hit. Something in her had broken in a way that made her brilliant and terrifying. She proposed merging alien biotech with human systems, growing weapons from captured materials, creating ships that could heal themselves, adapt, evolve. "We can't beat them with human technology," she said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "So we use theirs. We take what they are and make it ours." The ethics committee protested, said we didn't know what we were doing, that the alien biology might corrupt us, change us into something we didn't recognize. Yuki looked at them with dead eyes. "Good. We need to change. The species we have got 3 billion people killed. Maybe becoming something else is the only way to survive." The committee voted. The integration project was approved. I was assigned to the first hybrid ship. They called it the Prometheus, because apparently someone still had a sense of irony about stealing fire from the gods. It looked wrong. Human superstructure, a destroyer frame from Earth's navy, salvaged and rebuilt, covered in black, pulsing material that seemed to breathe. The corridors smelled organic, like being inside something alive. The walls were warm to the touch. The engine room hummed with rhythms that felt like a heartbeat. Sometimes I swear I could feel it thinking. On my first day aboard, I got lost. The corridors had changed overnight, rearranged themselves. The ship was optimizing its own layout. I found my way to the bridge and reported to the captain, a woman named Torres who'd been a frigate commander before Earth fell. "Gets easier," she said. "You learn to navigate by feel. The ship wants you to find your way." "The ship wants?" I asked. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You'll understand soon enough. We tested the Prometheus in deep space, far from anything that mattered. The ship adapted to our commands, grew new weapon systems based on what we needed, healed damage in minutes that should have taken weeks in dry dock. I watched from the engine room as test weapons fired. The ship shuddered with something like pleasure. Its biosystems spiked. Energy flowed through channels that hadn't existed an hour before. It was magnificent, it was horrifying, and it worked. The first counterstrike happened near Europa, 6 months after the fall. 20 alien ships on patrol, searching for survivors hiding in the ice moon's subsurface oceans. The coalition sent 50 vessels, including the Prometheus and 2 other hybrid ships. I was in the engine room, monitoring the biointegration systems when we engaged. The ship lurched forward, and I heard it, a sound like a heartbeat, rapid and excited. Prometheus wanted to fight. Commander Morich's voice crackled over the comm, calm despite everything. "All ships, fire at will. No heroics, no mercy. Make them hurt." The battle was nothing like the movies. No dramatic music, no clean explosions, just chaos and screaming and people dying in vacuum. Missiles streaked through the void, leaving trails of exhaust that looked beautiful until you remembered each one was designed to kill. Railgun rounds punched holes through shields we'd thought impenetrable. Lasers cut through hulls in silence, and ships died with their crews still inside, vaporizing in explosive decompression. I watched the screens, trying to keep Prometheus stable. The ship was pushing itself beyond safe parameters, burning through biomass, growing weapons faster than its structure could support. "She's going to tear herself apart," I shouted into the comm. Torres's response was immediate. "Let her. Just keep her alive for 10 more minutes. Those 10 minutes lasted an eternity." The Prometheus tore through the alien formation like a predator that had found prey. Its weapons adapted mid-battle. When shields blocked lasers, it grew kinetic cannons. When armor deflected rounds, it sprouted plasma emitters. It wasn't being piloted anymore. It was hunting. An alien ship targeted us. Their weapon, some kind of particle beam, sliced through our forward section. I felt the ship scream, not metaphorically. It made a sound through the hull, through the air, through my bones. Then it healed, flesh metal growing over the wound, adapting, strengthening. Prometheus returned fire, tore the alien ship in half. When it was over, all 20 alien ships were destroyed. We'd lost 32 vessels, over 1,000 people. Names I knew, faces I'd seen in the mess hall. David, my bunkmate. Keiko, my supervisor, gone. I floated in the engine room afterward, surrounded by screens showing casualty reports, and felt nothing. Not pride, not horror, not grief, just emptiness. The Prometheus pulsed around me, its systems cooling, almost purring with satisfaction. We'd become something new, something that could kill gods, something that scared me more than the aliens ever did. The victories kept coming after that. Small at first, raiding parties, ambushes, hit-and-run attacks on supply lines. We learned their patrol patterns, their blind spots, their weaknesses. But every victory cost us, not just ships and lives. Something deeper. The hybrid technology spread like infection. More ships grew from alien materials. Soldiers received bio-augmentations that made them stronger, faster, less human. Their eyes changed color. Their reflexes went inhuman. Omi stopped sleeping. Others stopped feeling. I saw a captain order an entire refugee convoy abandoned because saving them would compromise the mission. 3,000 people left to drift in dead ships because the strategic value wasn't there. I watched soldiers execute alien prisoners because we didn't have resources to hold them. Morik authorized it personally. "We're not running a detention center," she said. "This is extermination." I heard reports of chemical weapons used in boarding actions, bioweapons designed to target alien physiology, experiments on captured specimens that would have been called war crimes before there was no one left to call them that. We were becoming efficient. We were becoming monsters, and we told ourselves it was necessary, that this was war, that survival justified everything. Maybe it did. Maybe that's the worst part. Dr. Kane found it in the wreckage of an alien command ship. What we thought was a command ship anyway. Hard to tell with organic technology. A data core, intact, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that looked almost like writing. It took him 4 months to crack the encryption. 4 months of obsessive work, barely eating, talking to himself in languages that weren't quite English anymore. The hybrid technology was changing him too. His eyes had gone silver. His fingers moved wrong. When he finally translated it, he called an emergency meeting of the coalition leadership in Morik's ready room aboard the Defiant, our new flagship, more hybrid than human. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was just an engineer, but I'd become Morik's assistant by then, mostly because everyone else who'd held the position had died or gone insane. Kane projected the alien files onto the holographic display. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely operate the controls. "They're called the stewards," he said. His voice was hoarse, like he'd been screaming. "They've been watching the galaxy for 3 million years, monitoring species, evaluating threats." Morik leaned forward in her chair, face carved from stone. "And we failed the evaluation." The silence was crushing. You could hear the ship's biosystems pulsing through the walls. "Breathing." Kane continued, voice hollow. "They catalogued everything. Our wars, every single conflict from recorded history. Our weapons, from stone axes to thermonuclear devices. Our environmental destruction, deforestation, pollution, climate change. Our tendency toward tribalism and violence. They analyzed our art, our literature, our philosophies. They studied us for 200 years. "What did they conclude?" I asked. Kane looked at me. His silver eyes were wet. "That humanity is a cancer, that we consume everything we touch, that we're incapable of coexisting peacefully, that our chaos is incompatible with galactic stability." He pulled up projections, probability matrices showing humanity's development over the next 10,000 years. In every scenario, we spread through the galaxy like a virus, consuming resources, destroying ecosystems, wiping out other species, starting wars, creating weapons, leaving dead worlds in our wake. "They ran 10 million simulations," Kane said. In 9,998,000, humanity becomes a threat to galactic stability. In the other 2,000, we destroy ourselves before we can spread. So they decided to prune us, Morik said quietly. Not a question, a statement. Yes, reduce our population to manageable levels, destroy our technology, set us back to the Stone Age, turn us into a species that could be monitored and controlled. A permanent quarantine. I felt sick. They were trying to save the galaxy. From us. Kane nodded slowly. The worst part. Their projections were probably right. Look at what we've become. Look at what we're doing. We've created weapons that kill solar systems. We're augmenting ourselves with alien biology. We execute prisoners. We abandon civilians. Everything they feared about us, we're proving them correct. The room was silent. Outside the viewport, I could see the fleet. Dozens of hybrid ships, grown from alien biology, bristling with weapons designed for one purpose: genocide. Morik stood. I walked to the viewport, stared out at the fleet for a long time. They wanted to prune us, she said finally. Her voice was cold. So we'll burn the whole fucking garden down. Project Eclipse was born from that meeting. Dr. Tanaka explained the theory in simple terms that made my blood run cold. Stars are fusion reactors held in balance by gravity. The inward crush of mass versus the outward push of nuclear fire. Disturb that balance with precisely calibrated gravitational waves, and the star collapses. Trigger a premature supernova. Destroy everything in the system: planets, moons, stations, ships, life, everything. You're talking about killing stars, someone said. Yes, Tanaka replied. That's genocide on a scale we can't even comprehend. Yes. How can you? They killed my daughter. Her voice was still flat, still dead. She was 6. She loved drawing flowers, pink ones especially, and they burned her alive because we failed their evaluation of what a species should be. She turned to face the room. Her eyes were empty, silver like canes, but worse somehow, like looking into a void. I'm going to make them pay for every flower she never drew, for every birthday she'll never have, for every moment of life they stole from her. And if that means killing stars, then I'll kill every fucking star in the galaxy. Nobody argued after that. The device was built in secret, deep in the Kuiper Belt. Only a handful of people knew the full scope. I helped with the engineering, mostly because someone needed to keep Tanaka alive long enough to finish. I found her in the lab one night 3 months into the project. She hadn't slept in 70 hours. Her hands were bloody from working without gloves. She was staring at equations that hurt to look at, mathematics that described the death of suns. This is genocide, I said quietly. She didn't look away from the screen. Yes. We'll be killing billions. They're civilians, they're children. Yes. How can you live with that? She finally turned. Her face was gaunt, skull-like. I can't. That's the point. I died when my daughter did. I'm just a ghost finishing her work. Your daughter wouldn't want this. My daughter wanted to grow up. She wanted to draw flowers and learn piano and maybe be a veterinarian. She didn't get what she wanted. None of us do. She went back to her equations. Go away. Come back when you've lost everything, then tell me about morality. I left, didn't argue, because she was right. We'd all lost everything, and the worst part was, losing everything had made us free to do the unthinkable. The device was tested in an uninhabited system, just a dying red dwarf and 3 lifeless rocks. No planets, no life, no one to kill. We activated it from a safe distance, 12 light hours away, behind massive radiation shields. I watched through the telescopes as the star shuddered. Its surface rippled like water. Then it began to collapse, matter crushing down, down, down to impossible densities. For one perfect moment, that star, something that had burned for 8 billion years, was smaller than a marble. Then it exploded. The light was beautiful, terrible and beautiful. It spread through the system like the hand of creation, or maybe destruction. The planets vaporized. The asteroids turned to vapor. Space itself seemed to burn. The shockwave took 6 hours to reach us. When it did, our shields lit up like a second sun. We'd built a weapon that could murder solar systems, and we were going to use it. The trap was set in Tau Ceti, a system 8 light-years from Earth, close enough to matter, far enough to be isolated. We leaked intelligence through captured alien communication nodes, made it look like the Coalition's main fleet was hiding there, low on fuel, damaged, vulnerable, desperate. The aliens took the bait. Their entire main armada entered the system, 3,000 ships, their command vessels, their capital ships. Everything they had committed to the war. Project Eclipse was already there, hidden in the star's corona, masked by stellar radiation, waiting. I watched from the bridge of the Defiant, standing behind Morik's command chair. My hands were gripping the railing so hard my knuckles were white. The alien fleet spread through the system, searching. They'd learned caution from our raids. They moved carefully, ships in formation, shields up, weapons hot. They didn't see the trap. Morik's face was carved from stone, emotionless. She'd stopped feeling anything months ago. We all had. "All Coalition ships, fall back to minimum safe distance," she ordered. Her voice was steady, practiced. "Prepare for stellar detonation." The fleet retreated. The alien armada advanced, sensing victory. They thought they'd finally cornered us, finally had a chance to end this. They were right, just not the way they thought. Morik looked at Tanaka, who was manning the weapons console personally. "Any last words for the galaxy?" Tanaka smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her smile since her daughter died. It looked wrong on her face. "Just one. Burn." Morik nodded. "Activate Eclipse." The star screamed. I know stars don't make sound in vacuum. I know it's impossible. But somehow I heard it, a deep, resonant agony as the gravitational waves tore through its core. Maybe it was just in my head. Maybe it was the ship's biosystems resonating with the disruption. Maybe it was guilt making sounds where there shouldn't be any. The aliens realized too late what we'd done. Their ships turned, engines burning at maximum thrust, trying to escape. But light is faster than ships. The star collapsed into itself, matter crushing down to impossible densities. For one perfect moment, less than a second, it was smaller than a marble. A dying sun compressed to the size of a human heart. Then it exploded. The shockwave spread at relativistic speeds. We watched through shielded viewports, filtered displays, enhanced imaging that let us see the moment of annihilation. Alien ships vaporized, just gone. 3,000 vessels, each carrying thousands of crew, were erased in an instant. The inner planets cracked like eggs. Gas giants were stripped to their cores. Moons shattered. Asteroids became vapor. The explosion was so bright it outshone every star in the local cluster. We'd just murdered a solar system, and we watched in silence. No one cheered. No one celebrated. A few people cried. Most just stared, trying to comprehend what we'd done. Morik stood rigid at the viewport, her reflection showing a face I didn't recognize anymore. Older, harder, something that used to be human. "What have we become?" someone whispered behind me. No one answered. We all knew. We'd become exactly what the stewards feared, and we'd proven them right. We didn't win by being better. We won by being worse.